So as we talked about before in the last video, the Korean workers from the LG and Hyundai plant are now back home safely with their families here in Korea. And they've actually now had a chance to share what happened with the ICE people and the Trump stuff. I want to go over this with you guys. I think it's important to share with the world. So first, these are some pictures you guys remember. It was an ICE raid. They sent in, helicopters, military-style vehicles. They were pointing guns at people. And the workers actually had no idea what was going on. They were just like, why are these people showing up? I mean, there shouldn't be any problem. Like, what? Like, seriously. And I guess none of them knew what they were being charged with or anything. The way things were done, some of the workers didn't speak English very well. So they're just like, I don't know, a guy's pointing a gun at me. I just got to follow. Like, they don't really know. And then, and some people even reported like it was so unbelievable. This didn't feel real. They thought maybe it was a joke. It was so ridiculous. But then they said when they started handcuffing people and putting braces on their ankles, handcuffs on the ankles and chaining people, and I'll show you a picture of that. People are like, this is real. Like, it just didn't feel real because they're just at work. And I didn't hear this one before either. So I guess they left the handcuffs out in the sun, right? So they were really hot. Some people actually got burned from the chains and things. So it was just really bad. I'll leave it that way. I'll try to get into more because I want to read some comments. The photo just came out from on the bus here because what they did is the ICE people came in and took everyone's possessions and threw them in a bag. I think some people might have held on to stuff, right? Which I completely understand, right? So these people's guns show up and just like, give me everything. And it's like, what's going on? Like, they don't even know what you're being charged with or anything. You just know someone's pointing a gun at you wearing a mask. And you're in another country. It's scary. So then they're put on a bus. This is a photo from the bus. When they were first detained in the detention center, it was like there was 70 to 80 people in one big room. The beds had mold on it. The food wasn't edible, people said. One person, we know one person was pregnant. Another person said they were going through their period. So that was really tough, right? She was a female. The whole thing's bad. I'll just put it that way. This was actually really interesting also because remember the people that ICE arrested were like technicians, engineers, this people who do this stuff a lot. What I mean by that, do this stuff a lot, is like they draw things a lot. So this is actually a drawing of the inside the ICE detention. So someone started like taking notes and logs. I think there was a couple people that wrote down everything that happened every day, and like I couldn't draw this well, to be really frank, but they, kept record of everything. So, if, I'm just putting this up here. I don't know why they redacted some of this other stuff. It's hard to say, but I'll just say this is a drawing of inside the ICE thing. Koreans here in Korea are frankly pissed off. Let me read some of the comments. You guys get a sense of it because I don't think people in the USA necessarily realize the damage that you've done to U.S.-Korea relations, but not just Korea. You could talk about U.S.-Canada relations or other countries as well. I want to read some comments from the Koreans. Fortunately, this time, a large number of 300 people, 300 people were arrested at once. So the issue was resolved quickly. If this had been a small number of people, they would have probably still been in the detention center. So this person's making the case that because there were so many Koreans arrested that it was like a big international news story and a big incident, and that's what got him out earlier. That was one point that someone made. Another person writes, living in America, to know what kind of country America is and what Americans think of us, and think people in Korea will also indirectly feel this. So basically, right, when we see how Americans treat our fellow, people, like now we know who America is. That's, you can really says, I'm just showing you guys the comments here. Here's another one. As a YouTuber from overseas once said, Koreans will never forget that the three largest conglomerates in Korea, so companies, Samsung, LG, Hyundai, treated the elite like slaves, right? So they're saying you treated some of our best people like they're slaves. So people won't forget this. Another one, suing is the answer. Okay, this is coming from Koreans, just writing comments on a SBS video. Suing is the answer. LG and Hyundai, please don't tolerate this. They're holding technicians as slaves, preventing them from returning home, not issuing visas, and refusing to raise a sword. How is this any different from the Japanese colonial era? Koreans went there to do things Americans couldn't do, and you're treating them like criminals. there's absolutely no need to rush things. So what this is referring to is, if you need to understand Korean history and culture, Korea is a much smaller country than their neighbors, and they have a real sense of pride that they've endured a lot. And that's something that it's hard to explain unless you've been to Korea. It's because sometimes Americans are kind of rude to other countries, like, oh, we're the big powerful country, blah blah blah. You should love America, right? And other countries are like, we're a smaller country, but we have strong spirit, and we're still here. That kind of mentality. So when we refer to the Japanese colonial era, because I know Americans don't know anything about this stuff. During World War II, Japan had taken over Korea and actually did a lot of really mean things to Koreans. And so there's a lot of, what's I would say, Koreans have learned to endure and overcome. That's a good way to put it. And so when the person's last thing is saying, like, there's no need to rush things, like, you don't have to hurry back and, beg Americans or anything like that. Here's another one. Don't go. Once you learn all the skills, you'll be chained again. Because remember, Donald Trump was trying to get the Koreans to come back to finish the LG and Hyundai plant. And this is what regular people are saying, don't go. I'm so angry. How much did they make fun of South Korea? And what was also reported is, I guess, some of the ICE workers were making fun of effectively the prisoners and being really, really rude. So I'm sure you kind of can imagine the people who, work for ICE or the detention center. It's not good people. And it's just, so I'm reading I want you to hear the Korean voices. Here's another one. How much mental pain must have been truly inflicted? The more I think about it, the more furious I become. Here's another one. Our government should take a strong stance against the United States. We should conduct a comprehensive investigation of English instructors coming to our country on tourist visas and implement the same measures as in the United States. So, this is something that you definitely want to be aware of, guys. There are Americans all over the world, like all over the world. And for those of you who follow my channel, you'll know this. I'm an American. I'm here in Korea. I want us to have good relationships between countries. I don't want just if for example, if my country has a bad relationship with another country and I go there and I just get arrested and no one tells me what's going on, people show up with masks and guns. It's just not the world that you want to live in. And then, I understand that the anger and call for retaliations. I'm just saying, like, let's not all repeat the Trumper stuff and essentially get that endless cycle of revenge. I don't want that, but I understand why people are feeling that, and that's why I'm sharing it with you. Here's another person that says, there was a case in the U.S. where they were tried for illegal arrest and received a compensation of $4 million. File a lawsuit. There was no Miranda claim either, right? So people in Korea know the laws, and the Miranda concept I can't tell you how many countries, but I think it's a pretty common thing around the world. It's like if you're arrested or whatever, they tell you why. So yeah, I know that the Korean government is supporting at least one worker in suing the U.S. government. So that I do know. Another person, I'm so angry. This is white supremacy at its finest. Why do we have to be treated like this? We went there to teach technology. Is this how we're treated? We need to rethink our alliance with the United States, right? And again, Trump just is ruining our relationship with one of our strongest allies, which is Korea. And you guys know this too as well. We have a lot of members in the community who served in the armed forces, actually, and were stationed in Korea. People write that. They say, Chris, I was stationed in Korea. I feel bad at what's happened. So I also always want to remind everyone, not everyone is a Trumper out there. A lot of people in America do hate Trump, which rightfully so. I understand that, and unfortunately now, or fortunately, everyone to look at it, but just Trump has ruined relations with Korea. I mean, you can see it from the way people react. Here's another one. This can't be overlooked. For the sake of a healthy alliance, we must objectively assess our own interests and ensure fair treatment. And I believe those who have been unjustly imprisoned should sue for punitive damages. That's what people are saying. Another one. This is inhumane arrest that violated the Miranda law and did not verify visas. You should sue. I hope you receive billions of won in compensation, won being Korean money. Yeah, actually, I forgot to mention that. The people said that when the ICE people came, they just started telling people to get on the bus and arrest people, etc. And I guess they didn't give anyone really an opportunity to present any papers or talk to anyone. It was just they don't know what, you don't know why you're being charged, and then suddenly someone's pointing a gun at you and telling you to get on a bus kind of stuff. So again, to talk about the Miranda thing, I personally think there's going to be strong cases that these Korean workers will have against the U.S. government. This is going to be, this isn't going to end. That's why I'm showing you guys this stuff, because if the Korean workers don't sue the regular Koreans, the backlash would be, upset. Like, you better sue these guys, right? Sue the Trumpers. Here's another one. America has always been a group of American supremacists, and now that the senile Trump is in power, America is a time bomb, right? And that's a kind of crying face is what they have there. It's like Korean symbols or characters, I should say, writing. Then also you have this. If I were you, I would probably never set foot on American soil again. Because one of the questions they're asking workers is like, would you go back? Trump wants you to go back to finish the factory. And like, no one wants to go back. I mean, would you go back if you're arrested by ICE? Probably not. And people are like, just don't go back. Here's another person. Don't laugh. If you want to learn, you Americans should get a visa. Come to Korea and learn, right? So if you want to be trained at the LG factory, you come to Korea, right? You can do it. The chains are truly shocking. Koreans are allies who don't even touch someone else's wallet on the table are being shackled by chains. And with the person referring to, it's really safe in Korea. And this is real. People just leave their purses, wallets on the tables in restaurants or at the beach, etc. I showed you guys in my vlog videos. It's hard to explain if you've never been here, where you just leave your stuff unattended and you're just not worried about anyone stealing anything. So that's from the Korean point of view, is like, why are you arresting our, educated people? They're not thieves. They're not going to steal anything. We don't. And then the ICE people make fun of them. It's just, I hope you understand, like, the Koreans feel really disrespected by this. I mean, you can probably tell from the comments, but I'm just trying to explain this. Another person, and the person continues, it says, we need to immediately halt investment in the U.S. and use that money as tariff subsidies to respond. How dare they treat us like a colony in the 21st century? That's according to them. Another person, it's a disgrace how they look down on the Republic of Korea. Our future generations will surely remember this day. Another person, I'm really angry. This is racism. Another one, since the U.S. says it's legal action, let's arrest all the American working in tourist visas. Let's arrest them legally and deport them. Let's handcuff them as well, right? So again, someone else's comment. I hope we don't get to this, everyone's just arresting everyone, but I'm just saying this is how people feel. Here's another one. This is a violation of human rights. I believe that LG needs to file a lawsuit to restore the human rights of the people of the Republic of Korea. Another one. I finally realized America's true colors. If they exploit you and you find no use for them, they'll do the same. Another person, did you go there to live? I kind of asking the workers, what kind of case is that arrests people who go on a business trips, right? So all the workers that were arrested, they were all just basically temporary workers for whatever, a few months, finish the plant and come home, go back to their families, etc. So, a lot of times you'll see the Trumpers are like, oh, why are these people taking our jobs and all that stuff? But it's just all nonsense. Like, if you understand who these workers are, and again, the ICE didn't even give these people the time to even defend themselves or anything. Here's another one. Tell them no one is going. Another person, don't even go to the U.S. for tourism. Here's another one. When I heard that everyone did as they were told, I thought, as expected of us Koreans, if they were from another country, they would have made a fuss inside and made a fuss when they were dragged away. But when I heard what we did as we were told, because we don't understand English, I thought our people are fundamentally nobles. And again, as I told you guys before, Koreans have real pride in their country. They have pride in their fellow people, that they've been able to endure many challenges, come together as a nation, and rise up. And one of the things I've noticed among the Trumpers and other people in comments have mentioned it, where if you're on the Trumpery side, you think USA is the best country and the only country in the world, and every country around, owes USA everything, right? That's how Americans think. This is frankly really arrogant. And it's hard to imagine for Americans that there are other countries out there in the world. They do exist. And when you go and visit someone, and I'm trying to be nice, you will learn to appreciate other cultures. You'll learn to appreciate other languages and learn to realize that you're not the only people out there. And there are many countries who've gone through many tragedies in the world, or many hardships of this kind of stuff. And so, think of it this way: if in a natural disaster hits USA or whatever, you want your people to come together and help out each other and endure, right? Rise above. And that's something that in Korean history they've developed very, very quickly and had to go through quite a lot. And this sort of, I always tell you guys about different movies to watch about Korea, or you can see Korea dramas. My favorite one is 1987, because it wasn't that long ago where Korea had to live under Trumpy kind of stuff and ultimately developed democracy. Now Korea has fantastic companies, fantastic education, fantastic healthcare, fantastic transportation, and they keep developing. They don't just rest on their past laurels. It's like the culture here it's all about working hard, and it's a real, like, how can I say, like, real insult what the Americans did to the Koreans, and especially Koreans that work at very famous companies. So like and I think it should be same in USA. Like some companies are like more famous than others, right? And we're talking about like LG and Hyundai, and you guys don't realize that like these are really big companies in Korea, because they do a lot of different things. And so if you work for these, it's like a sense of pride, and it's like, why are you arresting people that aren't criminals? Well, that's just how they feel. So that's all I have to share about this. I just wanted to share a Korean point of view. I do appreciate your time, and I'll catch you on the next video.